Thanks. So this is a shot of my blog, Guess What Normal Is, and the title is based on a characteristic of children of alcoholics, which is that children of alcoholics guess at what normal is. And I am the child of alcoholics, generations of alcoholics, with 28 million of us and 500 million bloggers. I'm probably more normal than, than I feel, and I'm giving this talk in a bar. It's great. So the last time I saw my mother, we had an argument, but it didn't look much like this classic mother scolds daughter, because we were arguing about whether or not I was going to take her to her dealer. This kind-looking gentleman is Eric Byrne, and he is the father of something called Transactional Analysis, which is a framework for looking at the way people communicate with one another, adult to adult, child, and parent. When adults relate to adults in adult mode, it reinforces itself. But when an adult scolds another adult, it tends to elicit a childlike response. This gets turned upside down on its head in the alcoholic family home. And it's as awkward as it looks, where the child raises the parent and the parent acts like a kid most of the time. So in this argument I had with my mother, which was horrible and absurd, she eventually said to me, "You don't love me. If you loved me, you would take me to my dealer." So I had to say to her, as the parent, "I do love you, but I can't take you to your dealer." Alcoholics like to be the center of attention. And even in the phrase that I'm talking about today, they did the best they could, they managed to be the center of attention. So in this phrase, they appear twice. They did the best they could. And you'll notice nowhere in this phrase is me or the person who's trying to be soothed by this phrase or this fact that they did the best they could. And in fact, even the phrase children of alcoholics, you'll see that of alcoholics is actually a prepositional phrase that is bound to the children. So really we're nothing without being defined by the alcoholic. So I wrote about this on my blog a couple of years ago, and trying to figure out this linguistic knot of, I can appreciate that people say this phrase meaning well, but it never brings relief. So what's up with that? What's the deal? And I found that my readers were very responsive to this idea that such a well-meaning phrase really wasn't seeming to work because there was something wrong with the phrase, not with their parents, and certainly not with whether or not it made sense, because best is subjective, of course. So the truth is we got the shaft. And the very simple truth, which involves no finger pointing and no blame and no drama, is just that we weren't well served by the parenting we received. And that was the conclusion I came to in that blog post. In a very Zen-like way, it just is what it is, what occurred. The readers who responded were angry, of course, and have their process to go through, but ultimately realized that if the exit they're trying to get out of isn't working, to find the one that does work so they can feel freedom. My mother died 2 years after that argument I had with her, and she was 53, and she had been sober for a year, and she died of an overdose. And she had 10 times the legal limit of alcohol in her system, so she was in a coma, and then she died. So I decided not to carry her story. This is a symbol of the hero's journey here, which is an archetype for looking at our lives and the stories of our lives. The first phase is the call to adventure, which frankly I think we get every day. This image here is the second phase, which is refusal of the call. And a lot of us can spend our lives doing that, whether it's through martyrhood, but the problems of others are not the call to adventure. So the next time you talk to somebody who had a crap childhood, you know what not to say to them. But I urge you to tell them something about themselves. Tell them that this life is theirs to do with what they can, without justification, and that there's no one to whom they owe concealment. Make it about them. Thank you.